Welcome to GKZ. Please click and subscribe.
The Bold Queen Esther.
A long, long time ago, there was a powerful king named Xerxes who ruled over a massive empire called Persia. His kingdom stretched across many lands, from the far reaches of India all the way to the borders of Ethiopia. He was one of the most powerful kings in the world, known for his wealth, splendor, and mighty rule. King Xerxes loved to show off his glory and riches. One day, he decided to throw a grand celebration that lasted not just for a day or two, but for 180 days, nearly half a year. He invited nobles, princes, and military leaders from all over his vast empire to attend. Servants rushed about with great care and precision, setting golden cups on jeweled tables and preparing the finest foods in the land. Everything sparkled. It was a feast like no other, meant to display the full glory of his kingdom. After some time, King Xerxes decided that it was time to find a new queen to sit beside him on the throne. He sent out an order across all provinces in his empire. His messengers, dressed in royal colors, traveled far and wide with a special decree. The king was searching for a kind and beautiful young woman to become the new queen of Persia. Many young women were brought to the palace, each one carefully chosen for their beauty and grace. They were given special treatments and cared for by the king's attendants to prepare for the day they would be presented before the king. Among those living in the land at that time was a young Jewish girl named Esther. She lived quietly in Susa, unknown to many. Esther was not only outwardly beautiful, she was also gentle, wise, and full of kindness. Her heart was as lovely as her face. Esther was raised by her older cousin Mordecai. Mordecai loved her deeply and brought her up as his own daughter, teaching her to honor God and live with courage and grace. When the king's order reached Susa, Esther was among the young women taken to the palace. Although she was nervous about what might lie ahead, she listened to Mordecai's guidance and trusted in God's plan. Little did she know that her life was about to change forever and that she would one day play a vital role in saving her people. When the king's order went out, Esther was chosen to be taken to the palace with other young women. Before she left, Mordecai told her something important. "Don't tell anyone you are Jewish." Esther obeyed, just like she always had. In the palace, Esther received special care and beauty treatments for many months, just like all the other young women. But there was something different about Esther. She had a gentle and humble spirit, and everyone liked her. When it was Esther's turn to go before the king, she didn't ask for fancy jewelry or special clothes, and when King Xerxes saw Esther, he was so pleased with her that he placed the royal crown on her head and made her queen. Even though Esther was now queen, she still listened to Mordecai. Every day, Mordecai walked near the palace gate to hear how Esther was doing. One day, while sitting at the gate, Mordecai overheard two palace guards talking. They were angry at the king and planning to harm him. Mordecai quickly told Esther, and Esther told the king, giving credit to Mordecai. The men were caught, and the whole thing was written down in the king's records. Later on, King Xerxes gave a man named Haman a very high position in the kingdom. Haman was proud and wanted everyone to bow down to him, and everyone did, except Mordecai. Mordecai would not bow because he was a Jew and worshipped only the true God. This made Haman furious. When Haman found out that Mordecai was a Jew, he didn't just want to punish him. He wanted to destroy all the Jews in the kingdom. Haman went to the king and told him lies. Haman asked for permission to destroy them. The king didn't know what Haman was really planning, so he agreed and signed a law that said all the Jews would be killed on a certain day. When Mordecai heard the news, he tore his clothes and cried loudly. All over the land, the Jewish people were weeping and fasting. They were afraid. Esther heard that Mordecai was upset and sent someone to find out why. Mordecai sent back a message explaining everything. He begged Esther to go to the king and ask for help. But Esther was afraid. In those days, no one was allowed to go before the king unless they were invited. If someone came in without permission, the king could order them to be taken away. Or worse, only if he held out his golden scepter would the person be allowed to speak. Esther sent a message back to Mordecai, telling him how dangerous it was. But Mordecai replied with words Esther would never forget. He said, "Don't think you will escape just because you are in the palace. If you stay silent, help will come from somewhere else. But maybe you were made queen for such a time as this." Esther was quiet for a moment. She thought deeply. Then she sent back her answer. She said, "Tell all the Jews to fast and pray for me for 3 days. I and my maids will fast too. Then I will go to the king, even if it costs me my life." After 3 days, Esther put on her royal robes and went to the king. She stood quietly in the inner court. When the king saw her, he smiled and held out his golden scepter. Esther had found favor with him. The king asked her kindly, "What is your request?" "Queen Esther. Even up to half the kingdom, it will be given to you." But Esther didn't rush. She invited the king and Haman to a special banquet. That night, Haman went home full of pride, but when he saw Mordecai still not bowing, he became furious again. He built a high wooden pole and planned to ask the king if Mordecai could be put to death on it. Meanwhile, the king couldn't sleep that night. He asked for the royal records to be read to him. As the servant read, the king heard about how Mordecai had once saved his life. "What was done to honor Mordecai for this?" the king asked. "Nothing," the servant replied. Just then, Haman came in to ask about punishing Mordecai. But before he could speak, the king asked, "What should be done for the man the king delights to honor?" Haman thought the king was talking about him. So he said, "He should wear a royal robe, ride the king's horse, and be honored in front of everyone." The king smiled and said, "Excellent. Go and do that for Mordecai the Jew." Haman had to lead Mordecai through the streets, praising him. Haman was humiliated. At the banquet, the king once again asked Esther what she wanted. This time, Esther spoke up. She said, "O king, if I have found favor with you, please spare my life and the lives of my people. We are about to be destroyed." The king was shocked. "Who would dare to do such a thing?" he asked. Esther pointed to Haman. "It's him," she said. "He is our enemy." The king was filled with anger and left the room. When he returned and saw Haman begging Esther for his life, the king ordered that Haman be punished. Haman was taken away and placed on the very pole he had built for Mordecai. Then King Xerxes gave Mordecai a high position in the kingdom. Esther asked the king to make a new law that would protect the Jews. The king agreed, and a message was sent out to every part of the kingdom saying that the Jewish people could now defend themselves. When the special day arrived, the Jews stood strong and were protected. Instead of a day of sadness, it became a day of victory and joy. The people celebrated with feasts, gifts, and glad hearts. This became a holiday called Purim, a time to remember how God saved his people through the bravery of Queen Esther. Esther didn't have to speak up. She could have stayed quiet. But she trusted God and was willing to be brave. And because of her courage, her people were saved.
And who knows but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this?